All right. In this session, I'm going to give you an overview of some of the services and resources that are available to you through the Office of Career Services, particularly around choosing a major and career. A lot of students, when they hear the term career services, they first think about that's the place I'm going to go someday when I'm graduating and I'm looking for a job. And that is true. That's part of what we do in our office, but we do a lot more than that. And actually, the successful transition from college into the world of work is actually going to begin right now with making choices about not only what you're going to study, what you're going to major in while you're in college, but also how that connects to the world of work and what career path you're going to pursue. When it comes to services related to choosing a major career, so some of the things that we do for students while you're here is we do offer career counseling or career advising for students. That means just an individual appointment with either me or one of the other staff members. This semester, things are a little bit different, and so that's going to be offered, but it's going to be offered virtually. And so that means you can contact Career Services Office either by email or by phone, and you can set up an appointment to meet with me or one of the other staff to talk about what you're interested in exploring, and we can do that either by Microsoft Teams or by telephone. As part of that process, we do sometimes use career assessment tools. Some of you may be familiar with these. You may have taken some back in high school or even prior to that. So there's several different assessment tools that we have access to, including things like the Strong Interest Inventory, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, and there's some others that we use as well. None of those are going to give you an answer about what you should major or what kind of job you should have, but they are tools that can help us know where to explore. Related to that, I also do teach a career planning course. It's offered under psychology, and I teach this class every semester. It's Psych 225, and the focus of this class is on career exploration and decision making. So it's open to any students, one credit course. And in that class, we do a number of career assessments. You do a lot of occupational research, and that's really the focus of that class. We also do maintain a lot of web resource, a lot of information on our website to help you get the information that you need in order to be able to make good career decisions for yourself. To find our website, the easiest way to do that from anywhere on the UWGB website, there is a directory and a search bar at the top, and you can use either one of those to find career services. So either scroll down to see in the directory or type careers into the search box, and that will be to our homepage. Once you're on our homepage, you will see, first of all, our contact information, our email, phone number, Facebook page, etc., is listed at the top left of the page. And then below that, you'll see a menu of services and resources. And the first one there is called Exploring Majors and Careers. And that's going to provide links to a lot of tools and information that you can use to gather more data about the world of work, to learn what occupations exist, what those people do, how much money they make, job market information, things like that. So you can start navigating those things and exploring that on your own. You can also, like I said, use our contact information to set up an appointment, and we can guide you to some of that information as well. But we do go through and collect a lot of information that's useful for you in making those kind of decisions. A couple of things I think it's important to start with in terms of understanding, and these are based on some of the most common obstacles that I see dealing with students on a day-to-day basis. One is understanding that major and career aren't the same thing. That trips up a lot of people. Try to make that into one choice. What am I going to major in? What am I going to do? But at the four-year degree level, at the bachelor's degree level, there are some programs that are more closely tied to occupations, professional programs. But most majors at the four-year degree level aren't that closely associated with a job. And so when you're thinking about major and career, those are actually two different decisions you're making. What are you going to study in college? What are you going to do when you're done? And understanding how to separate those, I think, is an important starting point. We also know that college students change their major at least once before graduating college. And so if you're undecided right now, if you're not sure, you're still exploring, or if in a semester or a year you start to change your mind, that's perfectly normal. So you're in the normal group if you're changing your mind or you're not sure what you want to do yet. So a lot of students come into college with something in mind, and they pretty quickly figure out that's not a good fit for them, and they're looking for other options. When you're thinking about careers and even majors, I think it's also important to understand that there's not a single correct or right choice for you. In many cases, there are several options that would be a good fit. And it's not that there's only one that's going to be right. And so usually at the end of the process, you're choosing among several good options, not just there's one single choice that's going to be correct for you. We also know that most people entering the workforce now and in the near future are expected to not only change jobs more frequently, but actually change their type of work, their career field over the course of their work life. I think that's important to understand, because one of the obstacles college students face at 18, 19, 20 years old is it feels pretty overwhelming to think about, what am I going to do with the rest of my life, right? 40, 50 years in the future. Realistically, it's probably not possible to plan that far in advance. And so understanding the fact that what you're choosing now is what you want to do next, not necessarily what you're going to do forever. So you may have many different career paths over the course of your work life, but at this point, what you're thinking about is, what do I want to study in college, and what am I preparing to do when I leave college? When you think about your major in college, we tend to place a lot of emphasis on that, and it is important. So I'm sure your family, your friends, your high school teachers, and they're all asking you what you're going to major in, right, in school. And if you don't know the answer to that, sometimes you can feel a lot of pressure. And your major is important, but it is only one component of your degree. It's important to understand that. So your major is going to be, somewhere around a half of your total credit hours probably, but you're also taking general education. Those are the courses that you're going to be taking a lot of in the first year and a half to 2 years. And then whatever's left over becomes electives or courses you might use to take a minor. You need 120 credit hours to graduate. So some of that's going to be your major, some of that's going to be general education, and some of those are going to be elective courses. So things that aren't required, but you just need the classes to get to the total degree credit number. It's important to understand this, because this is part of why in the world of work, there are a lot of jobs that might want you to have a college degree, but they don't have a requirement for a specific major. And some fields do, but for many fields of work, there is no requirement that you major in a certain thing. And so a lot of employers want you to be educated, and they want you to have gone to college, but they're not going to require that you majored in one thing. And that's because your degree is much more than just your major. That's one of the main differences between a bachelor's degree and an associate degree or technical school program, is it's not necessarily focused on one particular course of study. There are also different types of majors in college, and it's important to think about what your goal is. What is your purpose when you're picking your major? As I mentioned briefly before, there are some majors that are professional programs. In other words, to work in this field, you have to major in this subject area. Those are the exception at the four-year degree level, but there are a number of them. So things like education, social work, engineering, nursing, and all those are fields that require some kind of professional licensure or certification to work in the field. And because of that, the educational path has to be more narrowly prescribed. And so fields that require licensure certification often do have a specific major you have to study to be qualified to work in that field. So some of you might fall under that category if you're looking to work in one of those fields. But for most of you, you're choosing a major because it's an area of knowledge or skill that you want to develop that you could apply in many, many different work settings. Let me give you an example of that. Might be a communication major. So communication is a skill, and you can apply that in many different types of jobs. That's true for other types of majors as well. So something like psychology, unless you're planning to go and become a psychologist by going to graduate school, major in psychology and apply that knowledge in many different environments in the world of work. Some people just choose to major in a subject area because they like it and they have no intention of using that in the world of work. And that's fine to do as well, as long as you understand what you're doing and you're taking steps to prepare for a field of work. Keep in mind, too, when you're thinking about majors and minors, that there's a lot of ways you can combine programs. So some people have more than one major. Some people have a major and minor. There are different emphases within many of our majors. You can have more than one minor. So there's almost a limitless way that you can combine programs to create an academic plan that fits for what you would like to do. So when it comes to the process of thinking about how do I go about this, choosing a major and career, this is where Career Services comes in and helping you not only to understand the process, but to provide the resources for it as well. We always begin with self-assessment, learning about yourself. So what do you know about your interests, your values, your personality, your skill set? And that is where, career advising, career counseling is where the assessment tools come in. So you come in and meet with me or one of the other staff, and we sit down and talk about what's important to you, what matters to you, what kind of things do you like. That can help us know where to begin in the world of work. It helps narrow down the possibilities. The next stage, though, is gathering as much information as you can about not only academic programs, but jobs or occupations. And so Career Services has collected on our website primarily a lot of information so that you know where to go to find good data, good resources of information about jobs in the world of work. Most people don't start this process knowing very much about the world of work. We usually know about jobs people in our family have had. We know popular culture, but we may not have a very good or realistic idea of what different jobs are all about. And so you've got to collect that information. And our office has resources to guide you for that, to help you know where to go, to learn about what people do in various occupations, look at things like the job market and the wages. Rather than just going with what you think your initial impressions are, it's good to collect that kind of information. The next step is also getting some level of experience then. So if everything looks good on paper, you want to try it out. Eventually, we hope that'll be some kind of internship or work experience. But even prior to that, things like job shadowing, volunteering, informational interviewing, which just means talking to somebody who works in the field, that's going to help you get much more direct, hands-on experience to help you know if it feels like a good fit for you. So that's also an important part of the process that we're going to help you facilitate as well. And then as you do that, you're making choices along the way. You're choosing an academic program, your major, you're thinking about your career path, and along the way, you're going to make changes in that. So that's why, this diagram on the slide here is not in a straight line, it's in a circle, because this is a cyclical process. So as you make choices, you're going to discover new information, you're going to go back and reevaluate, and that's a normal part of the process. So usually in the first year and a half or so, there's plenty of time to explore options, to change your major without really gaining your progress at all, because in that first year and a half to 2 years, the majority of the coursework you're taking is going to be in that general education category. So I'm curious to know from you what kind of questions you have, or what kind of majors or career paths you're thinking about. So you can either raise your hand if you like, use that little button at the bottom, or it's a relatively small group, so you can also just unmute and go ahead and ask a question if you'd like.